Hey, welcome back. So today we are going to be working on this box. It's got a lid. I have no idea what it's for. It's made out of wood. It's round. And we're going to be using a paint inlay. And again, we're going to be using the Lattice Rose Paint Inlay, but we're going to be using a different sheet than we did last week. So let's get going. Okay, I'm using Fusion's cast iron. So this is, it came out last week, this color, or last year. And it's a really, almost a black, but not quite. And I don't paint with these dark colors very often, but you always need a punch of black in your house, I think. Black colored furniture or decor, it just kind of grounds everything. I have a couple doors that are painted black and it just works out perfect. So I'm really working that paint in because this is rough. Just double checking to make sure I've got good coverage on that initial coat. Looks good. Okay, so this is the piece of paint inlay that I want to use on this piece. And I'm just kind of eyeballing center here. I think that would be pretty close. So I'm just going to score this. I do realize that this is upside down at the moment, but because it's on black, I just need to be able to see the inlay. I'm actually going to cut it out. Let's cut it out. Save those. Okay, so I'm going to apply this like I would normally apply a decoupage paper. Just because it's round and I want to be able to line it up properly. So now I'm going to go in with the same color. This is still cast iron, but I'm going to put it on just a little bit heavier. To give that inlay something to set into. Okay, and now I'm going to mist this paint side of my inlay, and I'm just going to gently set that down like I would decoupage paper. And I'm going to mist this just lightly so it doesn't act all weird because only 1/2 is wet, because the paper stretches out. And we're going to get the paint. And now same thing, I'm just going to gently rub this down. So I'm going to give this a good mist. I've got a couple good wrinkles in the paper here, but I'm just going to go with that because it happens. Okay, now this has to dry. So we're gonna let this dry and then we'll come back and take this off, this backing paper, and see how our inlay looks. We're ready to take this off. So we're gonna give it a spritz again. Just want to let that sit for a few seconds. I'm just going to grab off any excess water while I'm pushing this inlay down onto my piece. Okay, let's start peeling this back. Perfect. Check that out. It shows up really nice, really bold. Now this, I'm debating whether I'm going to just go over this with spray sealer or if I'm going to risk brushing it. I'm not sure if I want to risk it. Actually, I think it might be fine. I'm just going to make sure it's really dry. Okay, no, I decided on this. I'm going to spritz it. So I'm just going to get my clear coat ready and I'll be back. Okay. So I've made a mixture of 50/50 DIY paints, Big Top and water. These are just little dollar store spritzer bottles and they work really good. They have a nice fine mist, so they work really good for this, to be able to put this initial clear coat on your paint inlay, because this one specifically, because I've done that almost black background and then the very pale green of this. I don't want this to bleed at all with me brushing a clear coat on it, so I'm going to go with this spritzer. So it's just going to be a fine mist on here. Trying to get even coverage. I got a couple bubbles, so I'm just going to dab those off. And then I'm just going to let this dry, and I'm going to go over it again. And those 2, sometimes 3 coats will give you enough of a protective layer of clear coat that then you can just go ahead and brush on your sealer. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this, and then we'll come back and do that second coat. Okay, so there's 1 coat on there, and now I'm just going to go over it again with a second coat of this Big Top mixture. This is a good method to get your initial coat down. You can use a rattle can, like a Rust-Oleum clear coat or something like that. I've used that before. It works fine. I'm in the store. I'm indoors here, so I don't want to use something that has that overpowering smell. Big Top is a lot nicer. Okay, I'm going to dry this again, and then we'll do a brush coat. Okay, actually, while I was thinking about this, while I was drying it, I think I might actually use a wax to seal it over the top. Because my plan for this, let's see how this all looks together. That's a pretty nice little storage box. You can have it on your coffee table for your remotes and whatnot. So I'm just going to leave that aside. Okay, so now the waxes, I am going to use clear and black wax. Where is my clear? There we go. Okay, let's grab a wax brush. Okay. So I'm going to go with clear first, because if I go straight at it with black wax, this raw wood is just going to suck that wax up, and it's going to make it look kind of grungy and whatever, and I don't want to use that. Or I don't want it to look like that. So I'm just going to go with clear first, and we're just going to brush it in here. And we're going to get it in all the little nooks and crannies. When you're working with pigmented waxes over any porous material, like chalk style paints, like DIY paint, you always want to put that clear coat down, that clear wax down first, because it gives you kind of that little buffer layer. Pigmented waxes over something like Fusion, you don't have to do that, because it has, the paint has a built-in top coat. So okay, and I'm going to do the inside of this as well. This is really porous, really rough, but this will seal it up and protect it. Okay, I'm actually going to seal the outside of this now too before I get going with the black wax. And it's just same idea. I'm just going to brush it over. Oops. And then you just let it dry and buff it. Well, wipe off any excess and then buff it. It just gives it such a nice, deep, kind of a rich glow to the paint when you wax it. It's just a different look than a clear coat. I don't wax stuff very often, actually. Usually because I'm kind of indecisive on a project, so wax is always the last thing you apply. So you don't want to wax something and then change your mind and want to do something different. That's not very good, because you'd have to take the wax off with something like a mineral spirit or something like that. And what this is going to do, because Fusion has a matte finish, this is just going to give it a deep, rich sheen. So, and you don't have to use Fusion wax on Fusion paint. I like DIY's wax, so. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep the clear out because I might need it. And I'm actually going to grab, I'm just going to use my lid. I'm just going to grab a little bit of the black. You don't need a lot of the pigmented waxes, especially black. Just need a little bit. So this is just going to give it that little bit of a kind of antique-y, just a little bit of color, almost like staining it without the stain. Just gives it a little bit more life to the inside, I think, than it would have had if it was just plain. And I'm just applying it right now. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to buff this back with a microfiber cloth. So this is just going to wipe off kind of any excess that was laid down. Got hair on my nose. So that it'll be easier to buff to that nice sheen once it's dry. But I like how it's given it that kind of more of an antique look. I like that. I'm just going to quickly wipe off any excess on the outside. Waxing's a workout, especially when you're doing a big piece of furniture. It's a workout. Okay, set that aside. Let's wipe any excess off this. I really like how that turned out. So this wood on the inside of the lid is extremely porous and rough. So it's really grabbing the pigment out of this black wax. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm actually going to go in. I don't need any more of this. So I'm just going to wipe my lid. I'm just using my lid as a palette. I'm going to take the other end of my spatula and grab some clear. And I'm going to use some of this clear to kind of move that pigmented wax around a little bit more. Makes it a little bit more uniform from when you first lay it down and it just kind of grabbed in that one spot. You can actually take your clear wax and go in and kind of use it like an eraser in a way. And just helps me get it a little bit more even, if that's what you want to do. Oops. Every once in a while I feel like my chins are sitting on my microphone, so if my sound has gone all wonky, I won't know it until I'm editing. So I'm just going to apologize for that little bit of ridiculousness. It happens. Okay. So see how this was way more textured, like it's actually kind of fuzzy. And I didn't sand it. I'm just leaving it be. And whereas this one now, it's not that bright, pale, unfinished wood look. It's got a little bit of wear and vintage charm to it now. So now I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to leave it overnight and then I can buff it and it'll have a nice beautiful sheen and a perfect little storage box. Well, it's not, I think it's like 12 inches across, so it's not super little, but it's really nice. I like it. Thanks for watching, and I hope this inspired you to give these paint inlays another try. They are a lot of fun, and you don't have to do pretty pink flowers on pinks or pale blues or pale greens. This is on Fusion's cast iron. So it works on a bunch of colors. These paint inlays are pretty awesome. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.